The weeks following Micah's return from his mother's house felt to Lila like walking on thin glass barefoot. She had told herself that if he came home, maybe, just maybe, they could rebuild what had crumbled. For a month she had spoken to him over the phone, checking on him, sending him pictures of their little boy, trying to remind him that they were a family. When Micah finally said, "I'm coming back," she felt a flicker of hope ignite in her chest. But that flicker dimmed quickly. Micah returned home, yes. But the man who walked through the door was not the man she had once fallen in love with. He carried himself differently, with a heaviness in his step, like he was dragging invisible chains behind him. Lila greeted him with a smile. Their son toddled towards him, giggling, but Micah's embrace was brief and distracted. Within days, the truth settled in. Nothing had changed. Micah didn't look for work. He didn't offer to help with meals, with laundry, with their son's boundless energy. When Lila got home from her first job in the late afternoon, she found dishes piled in the sink, crumbs scattered across the living room carpet, and Micah sprawled on the couch, controller in hand, eyes glued to a glowing screen. The television blared as their son bounced around the room, pulling toys from shelves, tipping over cushions, demanding attention from a father who barely looked up. 6 months passed like this. Lila's body felt like a machine constantly running on overdrive. Get up early, make breakfast, dress her son, rush to job 1, come home briefly to drop him off, head to job 2, return late, cook dinner, bathe him, clean, collapse into bed. Every part of her life was a cycle of motion and responsibility, with no pause button, no partner to share the load. Micah's frustration began leaking out in darker ways. Whenever their son cried too loudly or refused to eat, Micah's temper flared. He'd grab the boy by the arms, shaking him briefly as his voice rose in anger. The first time Lila saw it, her heart stopped. "Micah, don't you ever do that again!" Micah glared, muttering about how she was overreacting. But Lila's fear rooted itself deep. What if next time his grip was harder? What if his patience snapped completely? She began watching them constantly when they were together, her nerves stretched thin. At night, she lay awake beside him, the space between their bodies cold and untouched. The intimacy they once had was gone, replaced by a silence so loud it filled the room. One quiet evening, while folding laundry in the bedroom, she decided to approach him carefully. Micah was leaning against the wall, scrolling through his phone. "Micah, are you happy?" The pause felt like an eternity. He didn't meet her eyes. "No." The word landed like a brick in her chest. Her throat tightened. "Why not? I don't know. This isn't what I wanted. Any of it." Her mind spiraled. Wasn't what he wanted. She thought of the nights they stayed up planning their future, the vows they had exchanged, the day they held their newborn son for the very first time. How could he now say this wasn't what he wanted? From that moment, something in Lila shifted. She began preparing herself mentally for an ending she never wanted but could no longer ignore. Weeks later, they sat across from each other at the small kitchen table. The air felt thick, the room silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. "I don't think I can do this anymore." "Do what?" "This us, the marriage." "I'm tired, Lila. I'm not happy. You're not happy. And we're just going in circles." "So you're saying you want out?" "Yeah." Her breath caught, but no tears came. She had cried too much already in the privacy of bathrooms, in the stillness of the night. Instead, she simply nodded. "If that's what you want." The rest of the week passed in a strange haze. They barely spoke, moving around each other like strangers who happened to share an address. Lila kept her mind busy with work, her son, and small tasks around the house. It was a Sunday morning, and Lila went to church with their little boy. The service was long but comforting, a brief refuge from the storm her life had become. She sang softly during the hymns, prayed silently for strength and tried to quiet the noise in her head. Afterwards, she held her son's hand as they walked home. The weather was crisp, the sunlight filtering through the branches overhead. She rehearsed in her mind the conversation she planned to have with Micah later that day, about custody, about splitting their things, about moving forward. She unlocked the door and stepped inside, her son skipping ahead into the living room. Then she froze. The couch was gone, the television stand empty, the rug rolled up and missing. Her pulse began to race as her eyes darted around the apartment. The shelves were bare, the pictures on the walls taken down, drawers left half open. She dropped her purse and hurried to the bedroom. The closet hung open, Micah's clothes gone, his shoes, his jackets, his backpack. Everything he owned had vanished. The nightstand where he kept his watch and wallet was empty. Even the photo of them on their wedding day was missing from the frame. In the corner of the room, a lone piece of paper lay on the floor. She picked it up with trembling hands. It was a note. 2 words hastily scribbled. "I'm done." "Mummy, where's the TV?" Lila sank onto the edge of the bed, her vision blurring. Every ounce of strength she had built over the last year felt like it was crumbling all at once. Micah hadn't just left. He had erased himself from their home. No warning, no goodbye, just an empty space where their life together had been. Was this truly the end of their marriage? Or was this another twisted cycle where he would disappear only to come back? She didn't have the answer, but she knew one thing. This time, something inside her was changing. And in the silence of that empty apartment, Lila realized the next chapter of her life was about to begin.